resilience. But what I'm saying is that if you are going through anything which makes you feel low or bad or depressed or disappointed, don't dismiss it, acknowledge it, and understand that everybody has their own coping mechanisms. So people might not relate to what you're going through right now, and that's all right. They don't have to. Everybody has their own perspective of the world and viewing. But give yourself compassion, be considerate to yourself, give yourself space, take time to get over that, but then do get over it. And by get over it, I mean look for the next steps which you may want to take to move yourself in the next direction.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the peopleHum interview series. This is your host, Anushka at peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and video channel, which receives more than 400,000 visitors a year, and we also publish several interviews with well-known names globally every month. We have with us today Hira Ali. Hira is the Chief Executive Officer of Advancing Your Potential, Managing Director of International Women Empowerment Events, Founding Director of Career Excel, and co-founder of The Grey Area. She's also a multifaceted career coach and trainer who has impacted hundreds of people from various industries and professions across the world. She's an associate certified coach accredited by International Coach Federation and a professional member of the Association for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Her widely acclaimed leadership and coaching articles have been published across a variety of leading outlets, and her work has been featured in several interviews. Her career development podcast, 8 Minutes of Learning with Hira Ali, has been featured in HuffPost as one of the top 100 rising podcasts with guests. She has also been featured as a role model in the book Girls, Who Do You Want to Be? Alongside global influencers like Ariana Huffington and many more. She's really passionate about empowering women and ethnic minorities and is a strong advocate for diversity and inclusion at the workplace. We're very thrilled to have someone of her stature join us today on peopleHum. Welcome, Hira. We're thrilled to be talking to you today.
Thank you so much. I am delighted to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
The pleasure is absolutely ours. So, diving right deep into the interview, the first question we had for you was, as CEO of Advancing Your Potential, can you tell us a little bit about your company, its ideologies, and the great work that you do there?
So Anushka, I launched this company in 2017. And I started working because I moved to London in 2016. Before that, I was in Dubai for 6 years. So, and I'm not embarrassed to admit that it took me quite some time to properly start earning from the company because I was so busy creating my brand. I was writing articles, I was creating programs, I was writing my book. So yeah, Advancing Your Potential, in fact, the website is just being updated. It offers a lot of services. So we offer workshops. We have women leadership workshops. We have mental health and well-being workshops, racial diversity workshops. And because I specialize in women and ethnic minority leadership, my main passion, my goal is to support marginalized communities to smash the glass ceiling. So a lot of the workshops around that, because there are a lot of workshops which tell organizations and managers how to deal with, how to deal with microaggressions, how to be more diverse, but there aren't a lot of workshops available as such, which are helping ethnic minorities to get over the messy middle, as we would call it. So that's what we do. And then of course, other parts are surveys and benchmark studies and polls. I'm a huge fan of research, so I conduct lots of surveys every year. So this survey is also conducted through Grey Area. And then during the COVID, we launched this Survive and Thrive Resource Kit. So we also offer consultancy on mental well-being and resilience and workshops around those. So yeah, that's what we do. And of course, coaching is a major part of this, coaching, group coaching and executive coaching.
Wow, that's wonderful. I think you encompass leadership holistically, and that's great, especially now with the pandemic and mental health getting more spotlight and more there being like a greater importance on diversity and inclusion. I think that's some great work you're doing there. So congratulations on that. I'm sure you're like an inspiration to many.
Thank you so much.
Great. So, Hira, just going on to the next question, can you also speak a little about the gray area of which you're also the co-founder?
So the gray area is basically, I launched this with Shirot in Kotaria, and we are both women, ethnic minority women. Shirot is a Black woman, I'm an Asian woman, and we decided to launch this survey to capture the experience of ethnic minorities working in the public and private sector in UK. And we launched this survey in 2019, September. And then last year, we published the report, and it basically just showed the raw experience of ethnic minority men and women, not just women, but men and women, and the challenges they experience at work. So and then the gray area collaborated with Muslim Doctors Association to do a survey for the NHS Muslim professionals. And then, we are going to be doing more surveys in the future. Our main objective is to be conducting surveys for different communities and then publishing results. And so organizations could use those results, obviously, to bring a positive change at their workplace.
Wow, that's wonderful. And it's really heartening to see you're working on ethnic minorities and looking at situations from their perspective. I think it's really imperative to take into account each one's subjectivities, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I think what drove me was when I launched my book, Her Way to the Top, A Guide to Smashing the Glass Ceiling. When I launched this in 2019, I had surveyed 300 women across the globe. And because I've been working in different countries, I used to see a certain pattern in the challenges that were holding women back, as a result of which, when I came to London, I decided to do a survey, and I surveyed 300 women to test the theory. And some challenges came out in those questions that I had asked, or in the survey that I had conducted. It was only when the survey came out, I interestingly realized that these challenges were not just limited to women, but ethnic minority men and women also experience the same issues like imposter syndrome, perfectionism, and stereotype threat, and culturative stress or minority stress. So it's whether you're a man or woman, irrespective of your gender, because you are from a certain background, you will, the tendency to experience these challenges obviously it increases, and that's the reason why I decided, okay, so this is a common thing. It's not just women; it's all marginalized communities. So and that's the reason we decided to do the survey, because we really wanted to bring in a change in the workplace during our lifetimes. Not, I mean, yes, obviously for the upcoming generations, but we want to make the change happen right now. So that was the whole motivation behind it.
Great, absolutely. It's only now that we can leverage on for ensuring like a better experience for posterity, right? So completely agree with you on that one.
And Sharon, my partner, has been working a lot on networks. So she was working with extensively. In fact, she's created, the Staff Network Day, which is one of its kind. And so she had also had, a greater sense of awareness of all the challenges with all these ethnic minority networks, or just networks in general, because networks are usually created to represent marginalized communities or communities that are not heard of. So she also brought in her experience, and I think the combination sort of really worked well, and the report was very well appreciated. It was published last year, and then I think every year we plan to publish a new report working on a specific marginalized community. So yeah, let's see how that goes.
That's great. That's wonderful. And it was a really enlightening insight that you provided us with. So, going on to the next question, Hira, as someone who hosts the podcast 8 Minutes of Learning with Hira Ali, I'm sure you must have observed some common traits that all leaders must, like most leaders who come to the show, exhibit those traits. So, as a leader yourself, do you think there are certain traits that all leaders must inculcate?
So definitely. So I would like to make some confession about 8 Minutes of Learning with Hira Ali, because that was a podcast which was very popular, and now that podcast is being used by, Book Boon and different other channels. I haven't had the chance in the longest time to sort of reactivate that podcast. I haven't recorded a podcast in a long time. But yes, through the podcast and generally my interaction with different people, there have been certain traits, particularly in the last year, COVID-19 has actually shown us what traits are really, really important, particularly when you're or leading teams during a crisis. And I don't want to have this gender war that women are better leaders than men or men are better leaders than women, because I believe that both men and women have specific leadership competencies which can make them great leaders. And one of the things which strongly came out last year was empathy, because a lot of female leaders did very well and it was all over the news. And I think most research pointed out and evidence, and the reason for that was because they were very empathy was a strong trait. So especially when you're dealing with crisis, you need to have that, you need to show vulnerability at the same time, you need to be authentic. Being authentic is really, really important. And I believe if you're authentic and you're able to acknowledge your responsibility and acknowledge mistakes you've made, because we're human, just because you're a leader doesn't mean you can't ever make mistakes. But if you can acknowledge them and you can, take responsibility and say, okay, I want to do better, instead of some half-hearted cover-up, then people are going to respond to you better. So authenticity, definitely, compassion and empathy, 100%. Then I would say you need to, again, there's this thing, people think that if you are empathetic or if you are compassionate, then it probably means you're weak and you're soft, but that's not true. So obviously, decision making needs to be strong. And you need to be able to make quick decisions, and for that sometimes you would need to make hard decisions which not people would like, but the way you communicate those decisions, your communication style, is going to be really, really important. And flexibility, given the current times, how quickly do you adapt and how quickly do you pivot the business? Because I have done that myself in my business. I took everything online after COVID-19. So how quickly are you able to adapt to the changing environment? So I guess these are some of the traits. These are some of the traits which are not really talked about. So that's the reason why I'm focusing more about empathy and flexibility and things like that. But generally, overall, of course, there are common leadership traits which are good for everybody. And yeah, I mean that's what I think.
That was really wonderful. In fact, that was such an exhaustive answer that you provided us with, and completely agree with you on how leaders need to step into the other person's shoes and accordingly tackle situations, especially when a crisis like COVID has struck us. So, thoroughly agree with you on that one. And it's really important during such times to give employees a sense of direction and just kind of connect and foster better interpersonal connection with them, right?
Absolutely, definitely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So just going on to the next question, Hira, shifting gears a little, you've been featured as a role model in the book Girls, Who Do You Want to Be? So that's extremely impressive. And can you just comment a little about on that book for our audience? We'd love to know more.
Girls, Who Do You Want to Be is a book for teenagers. Here it is, and it's a wonderful book. It's basically a magazine-style collection of articles, and it breaks down ideas like financial confidence, mentorship, philanthropy, entrepreneurship, and there are topics on confidence and fear and stepping up, and they're motivational quotes. So a lot of I don't know if you can see, yeah. So a lot of these role models have been featured, and I was one of them, and I was really excited and honored. I have a quote in that book. And I was approached by the writer, and she, we've been connected on LinkedIn for a long time. And, she asked me if I wanted to share advice because she had read my book, Her Way to the Top, and she had really enjoyed reading the book. So then I said, of course, why not? So this book came out in 2019, again in September, on the occasion of International Day of the Girl. And since then, it has received wonderful, overwhelming response from all over the globe, and people have loved it. And just the fact that they have so many different quotes, so many different, even young girls have been featured as role models. So that's I think very interesting. I would definitely recommend everyone to buy it.
Thoroughly. In fact, I would love to read that book, and I think every girl should check that book out. And it's just so inspiring and motivating to see fellow women I mean, break the glass ceiling or just rise up the ranks. So that's phenomenal. And it's an absolute privilege for us to talk to you today after having been featured in that book, Hira.
So my book, How We to the Top, A Guide to Smashing the Glass Ceiling, is all about strategies. And when you said it's a pleasure to know people who are smashing the glass ceiling. So the reason why I wrote this book was because I really wanted to empower women, and women from all different backgrounds and ethnicities to literally learn strategies which would help them get to the top. So yeah, smashing the glass ceiling, I think, is for marginalized communities is one of my main inspirations at work.
That's great. That's really good to know, Hira. So, just a follow up question on this one: would you owe certain parts of your journey to your success? I mean, and would you like really want aspirants to follow your own footsteps?
Well, I mean, it would sound flippant, but I think my story, which a lot of people like to feature, is based on the fact that I moved from country to country. I'm originally from Pakistan, then I moved to Dubai, then I moved to UK, and every time I had to build my leadership brand from ground zero. And I think that was the challenging part because I was often used to be the only one in the room in terms of my ethnicity, color of my skin, my faith, my gender, age. Ever since I started my career, it's always been like this. And, I used to be the only person who looked like me in the room. And I think over the past 15 years, this is what I've learned that, whoever you are, just be proud of your identity, be proud of your values, your faith, whatever makes you, whatever is unique about you, and bring that to the table. And if there are certain things which people are not aware of regarding your faith or ethnicity, your background, your country, then make them aware in a polite way, because if they don't know, they would probably make assumptions. So it's best coming from you. So I think that is one thing which I would really advise all young people starting out, boys and girls, that, uh, don't be afraid to be you. Don't be afraid to, of course, step up and ask for opportunities. I do that. I mean, sometimes I do feel, I wouldn't say shamelessly, but I'm really persistent about asking for opportunities and asking the right people and reaching out to influencers. I just got an email back from the mayor of London because I'd asked him a question, and I just, I wouldn't I had asked him a question about my next book, which is coming. It's called Hira Ali, and the book is a women leadership book for men, because it has all strategies addressed to men. It's slightly unique in that way. So for my previous book, I reached out to influencers. I reached out to, people, because I believe that unless you don't ask, you won't get. So again, my advice would be to people, in the sense that if they want to follow my steps, they should know that it's okay to step up and own your space, and it's okay to self promote and create visibility for yourself. It's not I mean, there will be some people who will judge you anyways, but nobody is going to do the work for you. You have to do it yourself. You have to look for opportunities. You have to ask for them, and if there is a no, then understand that it's not something which is going to be a no forever. It might be a yes 6 months or a year or 2 years down the line. So I'm not saying relentlessly pursue people and just creepily stalk them, and but just politely sort of ask, and whenever you can, try and project yourself, your work. So that's important.
Right. So you're saying it's really essential to be proactive and take matters into your own hands and accordingly pave your road to success, right? Like obviously giving more self visibility. And now that like cultures, there's more the lines between cultures are really blurring, right? So just to get like your background culture out on the table for others to know, I think that's really essential. Great, Hira. So, just to kind of wrap this interview up, do you have any passing remarks you'd like to leave our audience with?
Yeah, I guess I would just say that, obviously it's a very tough time that we all are going through, whether you're students, whether you're people who have just starting work, whether you're a seasoned professionals, or whether you are, of course, business entrepreneurs. It's just been an overall very, very tough year. And, this year too, we are going to be seeing the impact of that. And I would say it's absolutely all right to feel disappointed and dejected for a bit, and I strongly advocate wallowing in despair for a bit if you want to, do whatever it takes to make yourself better, but and don't dismiss your feelings, because that's important. If you start dismissing your disappointments and you start comparing your disappointments to other people and saying, oh well, I understand that I'm going through a bad time, I don't have it that bad, which is good. I mean, gratitude is amazing. That's really going to help you build resilience. But what I'm saying is that if you are going through anything which makes you feel low or bad or depressed or disappointed, don't dismiss it, acknowledge it, and understand that everybody has their own coping mechanisms. So people might not relate to what you're going through right now, and that's all right. They don't have to. Everybody has their own perspective of the world and viewing. But give yourself compassion, be considerate to yourself, give yourself space, take time to get over that, but then do get over it. And by get over it, I mean look for the next steps which you may want to take to move yourself in the next direction. So what are the just the few steps which you can take for your job, for your business, for your career, for your studies, whatever it is, that can move you in the direction where you eventually want to go. So it's just those small steps. So yeah, that would be my advice for a time like this when everything is so uncertain and we're just generally going through a really bad time.
Very well said. Great. That was such a great note to end it on, Hira. I thoroughly appreciate the time that you took to talk to us today and the lovely insights that you provided us with. They were really unique and it was fun interviewing you. And I can't agree more where we need to identify and recognize if we're going through something and just hold on there and just tell ourselves we're not alone, right?
Absolutely. We're in this together.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you so much, Mira. We shall surely stay in touch.
Definitely. It was lovely being here. Thank you so much for inviting me.